Hello, in this video I'd like to cover Atlas 3 tips, tricks, and Easter eggs. These are tools or functions that you may not know exist because you can't access them from the toolbar or from a menu drop down. So in order to use most of these, it's going to be some sort of a combination of keystrokes and mouse control, or potentially you will need to be in like edit mode, and then you can start using the keyboard. So let's jump right into it. There's quite a few, and I'm just going to go right through them. Might be a good video to watch when you first get into Atlas, or maybe a little bit later down the road, just to see if there's anything you're missing out on. So let's go to the regen layer, and the first thing I want to show is using feature info on this regen layer. If you go to an attribute that you're interested in, for this example, we've got clear cut here. So if you hover over C1 and right click, you can set that as a selection. So now everything that is selected, these 911, are all going to be clear cut. I'm just going to open edit attribute browse to prove this. So C1, all clear cut. You can see here there's only one unique attribute in C1, and it's clear cut. And it can apply to anything. So if you're interested in the Stargazer THP, filter that, view map chosen, and there it is real quickly. Next tip is quick layer change visibility. So we can see what layers are on and what layers are off in here, but what you might not know is that if you hold shift and click on a layer that's on, it will turn that off. So I'm going to hold shift right now. We're on regen. I'm going to just left click that as usual, and now that turns off. You can see that the check mark's gone, and that's not your selection layer anymore. To turn that back on, you don't need to hold anything, but if you go down to a layer that's off, you can click on that and it will come back on. So again, shift, turn that off, and you can actually kind of fly through here and just turn things off pretty rapidly and turn things back on pretty rapidly too. So pretty handy. Also just nice to see what you do have underneath where you currently clicked, just to potentially, if you have a layer that is important but you don't need to always have it on, you can just right click, and at a glance you could know maybe there's some protected layer that you don't you can't do some work because of some layer, but you can just check that quickly right there. And now this is a more of an editing kind of advanced editing option, but if you want to see more about your feature and your vertices in particular, you can go into edit mode and hold the I key on the keyboard. And so as I do that, now you can see that each of the vertices has popped up its specific coordinates. And this will also highlight vertices red. This geo is very clean, so I don't have a lot of red right now, but if you put two vertices too close together, it will show those as red, and you can hit the F key right without holding shift or without holding anything. You can do this, hold I, you can see that there's red, and that means that the vertices are within 1 decimal place of each other. In this case, most of these are already pretty darn tight. They have the integer spacing from Atlas. But if there were two verts that were very, very close together and you didn't need them, they would show as red. You can hit the F key and it will snap those two verts back together. Okay. And the edit feature history is visible, and there's another video on this. I'll just open that up real quick to show. If you move a feature, I just wanted to show real quick that you might not know, but if you hit Control Z right now, you can undo changes. So that's what I just did. Move that, Control Z moves it back. And I'll save that. And here's another one that's a little bit more of advanced editing, but If you have several features that are close together, you can perform a quick selection on these, and if you hold Shift and Q at the same time, it will effectively do a union. None of these are touching in this example, so you can't really see. But in certain examples, let me just turn on our land class layer here, which is quite tight. If I hit Shift Q, what I'm looking for is maybe like a little sliver or something that just looks out of place. These are all looking pretty good. Let's go and check these. Shift Q, oh, right there. See this little guy? So I just saw that at a glance, and what that's doing is it's showing you that in here somewhere in one of these features is not tight. So I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to zoom in here. I don't see any extra verts there. Let me check this side. Edit geographic vertex move. Oh, there we go. So this land class right here is not perfectly in common with this land class. So it's missing a vert. So I'm just going to add a vert here, grab, and enter. Enter again to save. Now if I do this check again, Shift Q, that little tiny gap is now filled in. This next tip is kind of a nice tip. Turn this off. Say you have a selection that you're interested in. Let's use our other tip right here. We'll go with filter on 1983. Okay, so now we've got 7 regions selected in our G cell. They're all going to have a cut year of 1983, and if you use the page up or page down button on the keyboard, it will cycle through that selection, and you can go back. You can go forward using page up and backward page down. So it's a pretty nice quick feature. If you have a list, if you have some shapes that you're working through and you want to check through all of them, you can just do this with any selection. You don't have to do it through a filter. So I can just select this one and this one and this one, holding control, page up, and just cycle through those. That can be pretty good time saver. Okay, simplify features. To do that, go into edit mode. I'm just going to double click on that and hold J. As you hold J in edit mode, you'll see the simplify tolerance pops up. Now, if you scroll in or out on your mouse with using the scroll wheel, you'll adjust that tolerance in feet by 1 foot increments. And you'll also see here how many vertices are being removed. So if you have a shape with far too many vertices, you can quickly edit that shape and take some out. So you can see pretty much have the same overall shape here. Depending on how detailed you want it to be, you can remove vertices quite quickly. And if you don't like what you've done, you can actually undo that by scrolling back out, and it will add those back in. And to cancel, you can just escape, or you can hit enter to save. So it's looking like we have a pretty long video. There's still quite a few left, so I'm just going to pause it here, and I'll pick up where we left off on the next video.